if you're an engineer on an H-1B visa, I'm going to tell you about a way to fast track your immigration timeline. So right now, chances are you are in this green card backlog, decades long backlog. You probably have an approved I-140 following a perm application, and you're waiting, right? And you're kind of in limbo. But here's what I want to explain to you today. There is an avenue, a visa, an immigrant visa that you can apply for with much faster processing times. And chances are you already can apply for your green card, because the priority dates, if you have a priority date that's 10 years, that's from 10 years ago, this immigrant visa category is current for you. So it is called the EB-1A visa. Maybe you've kind of heard about it. It's known as the Genius visa, the Einstein visa, but don't let those terms put you off. You are more qualified than you think. And that's what I want to explain to you today. Chances are, if you go to work every day, you could potentially meet 3 out of the 10 criteria required for the EB-1A. And you only need to meet 3 criteria. So I'm going to explain to you how you can potentially qualify for the EB-1 visa. And you should think about it. So let me walk you through the process for those who aren't familiar. The EB-1A is for engineers and other scientists, but we handle engineers primarily. So it's for engineers who are at the very top of their field. And that might sound like really overwhelming. Like, how am I, I'm not at the top of my field. How am I going to prove I'm at the top of my field? But it's easier than you think. And maybe you know people who are more, have received more accolades than you, and you think, oh, I'm not them. You don't have to be. You have to show that you're in the top of your field, and the way the Immigration Service is going to determine if you are at the top of your field is they're going to look through and see which criteria out of the 10 that you meet and how well you meet them. So, and the benefit of the EB-1A, if you have an older priority date, you've been waiting around, is that it is current, most likely for you. So that means if you get your EB-1A approved, you can apply for your green card the next day. And also for the EB-1A, you petition yourself. You don't need an employer. You don't even, you don't need a particular job offer. So it's yours. So if this I-140 gets approved, this EB-1A I-140 gets approved, that's yours. That's yours. And you can port your previous priority date. So once you get the EB-1A I-140 approved, you can change jobs. It follows you. It's not your employer's. So I do want to emphasize that. And really the huge benefit of the EB-1A for most of you who are on, the EB-2 backlog train. As I mentioned, there are 10 criteria for the EB-1A, but you only need to meet 3. And like I said, most qualify without even realizing it. It's not as high a bar as you think. So I'm going to run through the criteria really quickly. The first criteria is awards. You must have received a national or international award for excellence. The second one is membership. You must belong to a prestigious or distinguished organization, association. Third is published material about you. So you must have media coverage that's directly about you, that's published in recognized platforms. The fourth one is judging, so judging the work of others, high level work. The fifth criterion is original contribution. So you must have a novel innovation that's been impactful in your domain. The sixth criterion is scholarly articles. You must have authored a scholarly article that's published in a prestigious journal or conference, that type of platform. The next two criteria don't really apply to engineers, and that is the artistic display of work at exhibitions. That's more for artists, designers. The other one that doesn't apply to engineer is proving commercial successes in the performing arts, which again is more for artists, movie stars, things like that. But the last two criteria to round out the 10 is critical role or leading role in a distinguished organization. And the 10th criteria is high salary. So if you have if you have a high salary in relation to others in your it could either be in your location, your field. There's some room for argument there. So those are the 10. And you have to meet 3. You should ideally have strong evidence for at least 4. We always apply for a minimum of 4 of the criteria, because you don't want the Immigration Service to, reject one of your criteria and then they just reject your entire application. But what you have to keep in mind is, and this is a mistake I see made over and over, the EB-1A is a legal, it's a law, right? It's part of the immigration statute and regulations. It is a set of laws. And so that means when you're putting forth your EB-1A petition, you have to keep in mind what is legally required to meet, the EB-1A visa legal regulations. Okay, so what I see people do, instead of thinking about it as a set of laws, they kind of think about it as like character evidence, or putting forth this narrative, like explaining how you're accomplished and what you've done. But it doesn't really matter if it doesn't meet the requirements. There are a strict set of requirements. Each one of those criteria that I just mentioned has a set of requirements. So you should always be trying to meet those requirements, because again, it's a set of laws and legal requirements. And the Immigration Service will be looking to see if you're meeting those legal requirements. Let's just say you meet a minimum of 3 out of the 10 criteria. You've built your evidence that shows that you meet the legal requirements. You should be not putting forth really this like a narrative as much as a legal argument. And you have all that. So should you apply with premium processing? I get this question all the time. And if you have a priority date that's current for the EB-1A, which I'm sure you probably do if you've applied for the EB-2 in an older job, but it they will give you, if you apply with premium, they will give you a decision within 15 business days. So you will get an answer sooner than later. The fee is quite high. But the downside is they are probably spending less time on your application. They have that the premium processing unit gets a high volume of applications. And if you don't file premium, if you file with regular processing, it's going to take, you should check the processing times because it changes a lot, but probably well over a year. So it's a personal decision. You should discuss it, with your lawyer, the pros and cons. But I also now want to talk about like several reasons for denial that I have seen. Right? One is not putting your evidence together properly and putting too much evidence in or over explaining. The immigration officers want to understand your case quickly, right? They don't want, they don't have a lot of time, and we want to make it easy for them to approve. So more is not better. Less and impactful is the better approach, right? So throwing in evidence that's kind of in the gray area, that's kind of, they don't quite understand, they're not technical. Also, I see this a lot. Like, you have to kind of take yourself out of the engineering world that you're in and in the layperson's world that they're in, where they don't have any background. They don't, they may not know the #1 conference in the world for what you do. You have to explain it. Be technical, but not overly technical. The other mistake I've seen that can lead to denials is using expert testimonial letters more as like character evidence. Like, oh, he's a great team player, he always steps in, that he or she, that kind of thing. So it's like generic. No, expert letters are legal evidence. That is how you should view it. Like, again, the EB-1A visa is a set of laws with legal requirements. And the immigration officer is supposed to enforce those legal requirements. They don't always do it properly, but you do have to make sure that all of your evidence is including your expert testimonial letters, is submitted as legal evidence. So what do you want to show with your expert letters? Again, they're not character references, they're not job references. They do have to show certain specific things. Again, they're evidence for the criteria. Okay, then the other mistake that can lead to denial is the compensation argument. So compensation, for the EB-1A, is that criterion is kind of open-ended in a way, meaning that as long as you can make a credible argument and you're benchmarking properly or in a credible way, you can argue for high salary. But just saying, I make a certain amount and therefore it's high. You have to compare it. You have to compare your salary and what you compare it to. Like, you have to make an argument so that, because the Immigration Service doesn't tell you what to compare it to. Is it against your competitors? Is it against other within your geographic location, things like that. So definitely make sure you show the benchmarks and you explain why you're using them. And then the last mistake I see that can lead to a denial is not showing the major significance of your original innovation. So one of the criteria is original contributions of major significance. So you do have to show that it's original, but you also have to show that it's of major significance. And that's what I see applicants fail to do. And the Immigration Service is going to look for objective evidence why, what impact did your contribution have in your domain. I covered a lot. I have videos that cover all of this in more detail. If you are considering the EB-1A, please reach out to us. We would love to speak with you and evaluate your case together.